Hello my freaky friends, King Julian here with a very special treat for you today. I'm going to finally fulfill my promise and do a proper introduction to our new family member, my CBR650R, also known as Rosie. This bike is the next step in evolution of Honda sports touring bikes, and it is a very much anticipated and in my humble opinion also a very much needed update to the 2017 CBR650F. My bike is a 2020 version, which is identical to its first release in 2019, and there is a new version coming in 2021 with some minor upgrades, which I may cover in one of my upcoming videos. Now let's talk about some technical specs, which I believe are necessary to paint a clear picture about this bike's character and purpose. The new CBR has an updated steel diamond frame, which is almost 2 kilos lighter than the previous design, and together with savings to the fuel tank and the new sportier foot pegs, this bike's curb weight has been reduced to 207 kilos. Now I know this would be still too heavy for an orthodox supersport, but for a sports tourer with a 4-cylinder engine, I think it's perfectly manageable, and the bike feels surprisingly light. Speaking of the engine, the new CBR provides a healthy slice of middleweight performance. That is thanks to its inline-4 649cc liquid-cooled DOHC 16-valve engine, and yes, I had to write that shit down. The engine has been tuned to deliver maximum power of 70 kilowatts at its redline of 12,000 RPM. The maximum torque this bike has to offer is 64 Nm at 8,500 RPM. In practice, this means a pretty enjoyable performance at the sporty end of the sports touring spectrum, but still not too scary, not even for noob bikers with a very limited experience, just like myself. Nevertheless, for those who either want to start slow anyway or don't have the A license yet, there is a restricted version available with maximum power output reduced to half of its full potential. In this case it is 35 kilowatts, which is perfectly suitable for A2 license holders, and it can be restored back to its full potential once you feel ready or once you got the A license. Honda promises an average fuel consumption of 20.4 kilometers per liter, which would offer a range of slightly over 300 kilometers with its 15.4 liter fuel tank. This seems to be quite accurate from my experience. Needless to say, it also depends on your riding style, so if you like to rev it up quite a bit, then you might need a refill, maybe as often as every 2 days. Other than that, the bike comes with a new fancy inverted 41mm Showa separate function fork in the front. Unfortunately, the front suspension is non-adjustable. In the back, we traditionally have a single rear shock with 10-stage adjustable preload. Another important element to mention are the new Nissin brakes. In the front we have two 310mm discs with 4 piston radial calipers. On the rear end we have a 240mm single disc with a single piston caliper. Finally, the new CBR offers a full LED lighting system and an LCD dash display. We'll come back to both later. Now that's it for the boring technical specifications, and we can focus on the more important stuff, the looks department. Now I remember seeing this bike for the first time and thinking, this is what a proper sports bike should look like. The most recent addition to the 650 class by Honda is a pure work of art, and in all fairness that goes for both, the Fair CBR as well as its naked sister CB650R. These two bikes share just the finest details with each other, and the CBR is definitely not trying to hide it, which is a huge plus. The fairing is kind of reduced on the sides so that the beautiful engine covers could be exposed. Another really neat detail is a little opening at the bottom of the fairing, which exposes the beautifully shaped inline-4 pipes. Other than that, the front mask clearly takes some design cues from the 2018 Fireblade, which provides a 650 with a deliciously aggressive look. A cherry on top of the cake is the full LED system, which lights up both headlights at the same time. Good job, Honda. However, there is also one elephant in the room which I want to talk about. It is the tail end, namely the fact that it is essentially the same as the naked version. Therefore, it is quite short and the passenger seat is lower than it would be on an orthodox superbike. I personally don't mind it a single bit, and even if I did, I'd still have an option to put on the sporty looking seat cowl, which looks just fantastic. But more importantly, I really do appreciate this bike having a proper wide passenger seat, since I very much enjoy long summer trips with my charming passenger behind my back, and naturally, her comfort is my comfort. So I think it is an ideal compromise, and a very reasonable one, especially for a sports tourer. The only part of this bike, which in my opinion needs an urgent upgrade in terms of the overall premium feel, but more importantly functionality wise, would be the LCD display. A bike like this would totally deserve a proper TFT display, even though in case of Honda, it would surely have dramatic impact on the final price. The least Honda could have done would be to make the display a little fancier by adding a simple color inverting function, since the darkly toned display is pretty dim and almost unreadable at the broad daylight. I've tried to test it with the sun shining from about any possible angle, and as you can see in the video, there's no ideal scenario. Wait, there might be one after all. Riding in the shadows. Other than that, there is not too much to criticize. The design deserves easily 9 out of 10 with an insane attention to detail, and the build materials also seem very solid, reliable and durable. To close this topic, I want to mention the 4 non-standard design elements on my bike, which are the wheel stickers, seat cowl, tank pad and the taller windscreen. All of these will cost you an extra buck. The electronics that come with the base model are the traction control, aka Honda Selectable Torque Control, and the dual channel ABS. The traction control can be switched on and off, and there are no riding modes. The dual channel ABS means it works independently on each wheel. You cannot turn it off on this bike. I've triggered it only once so far, and I must say I really appreciate having it. It works like a charm, and so does the traction control, which I also forced to kick in only once by now. One extra element added to my bike just recently is the original Honda quick shifter. This works very smoothly as well, although with a tiny bit of a delay. One important detail to keep in mind, it only assists while shifting up. Anyway, this is a very exciting addition to my CBR, and I certainly enjoy it all the time. And that's about it for the first part of my video. In the second part, I'll be talking about my personal ownership experience with this bike, ergonomics and comfort, required maintenance, and also maybe some struggles and problems that we've been through with this lovely desert rose. Thank you guys as always for watching, liking, commenting and subscribing to my channel. It feels really great to be in touch and see our little community growing. It means a lot, and I'm very much looking forward to talking to you in my next video. Cheers, bye bye.